Welcome to another episode of All Consuming Podcast. Before we get going, I wanted to give a shout out to all of our Instagram followers because we just broke 5K. Woohoo! Which means we'll probably be doing a giveaway. Hint, hint. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And I also wanted to thank our patrons. We appreciate you all. Thank you for supporting us and encouraging us to help us keep doing what we're doing. Alrighty, here is our episode. So Tyler, since last time we did an episode, we both grew a year older.
That's true. It was both of our birthdays.
Well, technically we only grew like a month older, but we celebrated turning a year older.
Yeah. You're so much older than me, though, Gary.
So, yeah, you got anything new? Anything happening?
Just got back from spring break. So that was kind of cool. Went to Seattle for a few days. Caught some Mariners games. Went to a Kraken game. But, like, it was pretty cool to just be, have a week off in the big city. And, like, big city stuff happens, Like, my wife and I, we were going up the elevator of our place we were staying, and they have like events posted for the night. And so we were like, coming home, got in the elevator, and it was like
karaoke night.
Yeah, it was like 7:00, and we're looking at this little thing, whatever, and it says 8:00, Emory at Numos. And I'm like, holy crap. And my wife's like, you want to go? Right?
Yes.
And I'm sure, why not, right? And so like we were like looked, where's Numos? It's like 0.5 away from our hotel we were staying at. So we were like super stoked. Okay, I went to the room and like changed. I was like, I have nothing black, what am I gonna wear, or whatever. Like, so I found something to wear, and like we were with the kids, but my parents came too. They're in a different room, so they watched the kids. They were all super awesome about it. And my wife and I, we just booked it, right? We left the hotel and walked to Numos. And like the problem is, like,
you can't say you booked it and then say you walked.
Okay,
like I'm just picturing
if you were.
Crystal,
this is where I'm getting, dude. Like, it is 0.5 straight uphill, and so we're like barely into it, and we're fading. Like, my wife is far behind me, and she's like, slow down. And like, we're worried. Like, we're older, Gary. We just talked about that.
0.5 miles, man.
Dude, it was straight uphill. And so we're like sweating and going crazy. But like, we know we have to get there. Like, what is random opportunity to see one of my favorite bands, And so we finally get to Numos, and we're sweating, dude. Right? We're like out of breath. We go to the guy in the front. We're like, 2 tickets to Emory, 2 of us. And he's like, bro, we're sold out. And then I thought, like, duh. Like, why didn't I just, like, look at any social media posts before? Why didn't I, like, look at the venue's website? I just was like, oh, there's got to be space. Dude, the way he looked at me, too, was like, who are you? Bro, we've been sold out for days. And then I went to, like...
2023, man.
Then I went to Emory's, like... Instagram and looked at their stories, and they posted sold out, stoked, and like all these like reposts of people that like finally got tickets. And I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot.
That sucks, dude.
And then like, so it's a super kind of small venue, and whatever band was playing before, it was like Classic Crime and Emory.
Yep.
But there was an opener, and like you could hear the opener outside, and so my wife's like, "You want to just like stand here the whole night, or?" I was like, no, we're not going to stand.
She's a team player.
She was in it, man. She was in it. She was okay with it. But I was like, no.
Let's go get some ice cream.
Yeah, so we left and, went home. And I was super disappointed. But I was like, on the way home, like downhill, I was basically like running because it's so steep, But like downhill, I was like, what was I thinking, man? Of course it's sold out. Emory's a Seattle band, dude. Anyways, that was my sad story of the spring break.
That's rough, dude. It was a good story, though. I wished I had a story.
Oh, you don't?
No, I didn't have a spring break.
True.
My first, maybe second week back at work.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Life is pretty rough now, we're in some show holes. So it's like we finished watching all the shows we were watching, and now there's like nothing to watch. And every night, you know, we get the boys to bed and it's like, I guess we're watching this documentary on Malaysia flight. You know,
dude, that stuff creeps me out, man. I'm not a big documentary guy. Like,
yeah, I mean, I had dreams, you know, of the whole flight thing and like, what if it happened to me? And like, oh, I think I know where it's at.
Yeah,
you know, like, but yeah. So if anyone has any show recommendations,
dude,
send them to me.
Beef on Netflix.
Oh yeah, is it good?
Yeah, it's kind of, there's some weird parts, but like,
it's got Glenn from Walking Dead.
Yeah, it's actually like really good.
My only problem with those, it's like, okay, any Netflix show, here's my soapbox. It's like you get 8 episodes, one season, and it's canceled.
Yeah, hey, this thing though, it wraps it up, man.
See, I want something like, I don't know, a big sitcom that I've never heard of The Office. What's this? You know, and it's like, boom, 10 seasons.
Dude, there's nothing like that out right now. Like,
I know, and I've seen so much TV. I need to just.
My buddy is like, "Hey, you should watch American Auto." You ever heard of that? I tried too, man. I tried, and I just can't get into it.
There's so many shows that it's like, try this. There's one that I started watching that is so far pretty good. It takes place in Seattle.
Love is Blind?
Animal Control.
Oh, Animal Control.
Animal Control. Yeah.
With Joel McHale.
Joel McHale. Yep. It's pretty good. I mean, five episodes in or so, and it's like, I don't know, Brooklyn Nine-Nine kind of humor.
Vibes, yeah.
You know? They're in the office, but they also get to go out a lot and do stuff at people's houses with animals and stuff. But we'll see where it goes. It's going somewhere. But during my paternity leave, we binged all of Better Call Saul.
Oh, yeah.
Which I watched Breaking Bad. Jen didn't like Breaking Bad.
Dude,
it was too dark
do
and
Breaking Bad, man.
Yeah. But this was like much lighter and not nearly as violent or bloody or inappropriate. And then it's like, where's this? You know, because the last season just aired like a year ago now, and I'm like, where can I watch this? And it's coming to Netflix still like 5 days away from right now, and I'm like,
so you have a gap.
Yeah. So once that's here, then I'll really be in a show hole.
So the real question though, Gary, that everyone is wanting to know: have you seen Super Mario Brothers yet?
No. It's only been a week.
Bro, I've already seen it.
My son got in trouble at school.
Oh no.
And as punishment, he couldn't watch it last week before Easter. And we went out of town for Easter and stuff, and so it was just a really busy weekend. But the plan was last Thursday, but we had to use that as punishment. And it sucked because it punishes me too.
Yeah, you wanted to see it.
So now it's like, you better listen to your teachers today. If we get another phone call. Oh boy. But he's being really good. Like, cool, and he's like, we do prayer requests at night, and he's like, help me obey my teachers, obey my parents, and obey God. I'm like, I will pray for that for sure. Yeah. You bet, buddy.
Well, it was enjoyable, but now when my kids want me to put them to bed, they want to listen to, you don't know this yet, Bowser has like a ballad he sings to Princess Peach. And that's all they want to listen to fall asleep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so it's cool, but like, it's also Jack Black singing it. So it's like Tenacious D.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, how about we talk about why we're actually here today?
Oh, that's a good call.
So today we are going to go through a couple songs, 6 songs from the band Meadows.
Yep.
And Tyler, it was your idea.
Yeah.
You're the one that said, hey, let's do Meadows next. And I'm like, really? Like, we have all this stuff to do. There's even new stuff that just came out, new August Burns Red, new Project 86 stuff. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, you want to talk about something from 2 years ago? So what made you pick this one now and versus, newer stuff or whatever?
Well, I really, really like this album. The concept of the 3 EPs put together. The real reason is on the Kingdom Core podcast, the lead vocalist of Meadows was wearing a Turnstile sweatshirt. So I was like, I'm in, So
yeah, okay. You're like, someone's wearing Turnstile. They're my favorite band now.
I gotta talk about it on the podcast, So no, I'm just kidding. But this album collection of EPs, I just think it hasn't gotten enough love, man. Like, it's so good. It's creative. It's super Christian. And I think it's just it's well done, right? And it's different. It's different than a lot of stuff that's been put out. So I feel like it deserves to be talked about.
Have you recently been like on a binge of it or something that made you think, we need to do this?
Yeah, I think it popped up. One of the songs, I think it was The Call, popped up on one of my playlists and listened to it, and then I just kept listening to Meadows.
Nice.
And I just said to you, in that moment when I started listening a lot, I was like, we're doing this. Here are the 6 songs we're going to talk about. Hopefully you're on board.
Yeah, I was like, well, what 6 songs were you thinking? And like, you text me like right away, all 6, and I'm like, let's do it.
I mean, in reality, like, we could have done all of them.
Yeah.
But trying to keep it for time's sake, I think 6 works. And I think the 6 we chose still fits like thematically with what they were trying to get across.
Yep. Yeah, I listened to this EP. Well, EP. 3 EPs. This LP.
Yes.
When it came out, like, you know, it came out like in September 2021. So not 2 years ago. Almost.
Yeah.
But I listened to it a ton because on our Discord server, we have a bot that tracks our Last FM listens.
Yeah.
And I had the trophy for a while. And someone took it from me, and I was like, oh, yeah? So I just listened to Meadows until I took it back. And the trophy, the crown, is like whoever listens to it the most on our server gets the crown, like bragging rights.
Right.
So it's just like back and forth, like every day between me and Apollyon. Or Emo at War, or
I was gonna say, who is
whatever
it?
Or Nacho Libre changes his name every day.
Whenever I'm on a Meadows binge and I go into Last FM and like see how many listens I have, and he sees it's creeping up, he just automatically responds like, "Hey,
yeah,
stop it!"
He's like, "Don't take that.
Don't." Like, he is viciously wanting to keep that crown.
Yeah. So I've binged them a bit in the past few years. But yeah, and I think sonically they remind me, and probably because they came out really close together and toured together, of Idle Threat.
Yeah, I can definitely see.
You know,
that.
there's some like guitar tones and stuff and kind of vocal styles that they do that kind of reminds me of it. And so sometimes I hear like a guitar part and I'm like, what? Oh yeah, I thought this was an Idle Threat song. What the?
Bro, you're close. I just pulled up the Last FM. Emo at War has 565 plays. You have 557. One more listen through this thing and you got it,
I'll get it tonight.
Dude.
Get it tonight.
And I'm at 312.
Dang. You've been catching up.
I know.
So let's jump into some facts about this EP. So like you already said, this was 3 EPs merged into one. I believe the story goes they released an EP, tried to get signed. They released another EP, kind of a continuation of the theme and story, tried to get signed. And then they released the third one, and then Facedown's like, you know, we got you. Come join us. We'll slam them all together and re-released it all as one big LP, which I think works really well.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the whole like part 1, 2, and 3. Not just like, you could tell that they all kind of sound different because they're all kind of, well, realistically they were made in different times.
Right.
But they all 3 kind of like, it kind of has like a beginning, middle, and end feel.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a complete story.
Yep. So the lineup, it's a 5-man band.
Yeah.
Christian Nielsen on vocals, Armando Penagos, sorry Armando if I don't say your name right, on guitar, Stone Creel also on guitar, Brandon Dabbs on bass, and Evan Wagnon on drums. Yeehaw. I saw these guys here in town. Spokane.
Oh yeah, you did with The Undertaking, right?
Yep. And Ongoing Concept.
Fallstar?
And Fallstar. Whew, I had to really think about that one. But yeah, they were great. And I would talk to them afterwards and hung out. And basically asked, like, how's the West Coast for you? It was like November or something like that. So it was cold.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're from Alabama. So I was like kind of teasing them about the temperature changes. But anyway, really good guys. I talked to Armando and Christian for like I don't know, 30 minutes. I
Really?
started to feel bad because it's like these people are standing around waiting to buy stuff, and I'm like,
I'm part of a podcast.
Yeah.
My name's Gary.
pushed my glasses up.
No, you didn't do that. That's cool, man. How were they live though? Like,
They were great. I think they played nearly all the songs that we are going to talk about today.
really?
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
you know, he did awesome Jesus shout out. You know, just saying that there is hope, and I think we'll get into a song where they really talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just really cool, down to earth guys. They played a great live show, lots of energy. Austin from The Undertaking hopped on the stage and like did a part 2, and like it was really cool. Just a lot of energy.
That's cool. Because I feel like sometimes with like this post-hardcore genre, not that there's not energy, but there's parts where there's not. Where like if you backed them up, you know, like compared to The Undertaking, or you compared to a metalcore band or whatever, it's a little bit different, you know. But live, they put on a good show.
Yeah, it feels more, I don't know, emo.
Yeah.
You know, these are just very emotional parts. But yeah, I don't know what you're asking me.
I don't know what I'm asking either. But I will say this. My wife is very excited that we're doing this episode.
Oh, she likes Meadows?
Yeah, she likes them a lot. Mostly because we've been on like these trips lately, and I've been on a Meadows binge, and so I'm playing it, you know? She's like, who's this?
So she's got like 200 plays?
Yeah, who's this? And her middle name is Dove, and so when the Dove comes on, she's like, this is my song.
Me.
You want to know what it's about? Because hopefully it's not you. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, anyway, I think for you listeners that want to know, this week, for like a week, so by the time you hear this, the tour is probably already over, Meadows and Undertaking are going through the East Coast.
Yeah.
Hitting mini estate, and they're playing with our friends in Plead the Widow's Cause for one of those.
That's awesome.
So,
that'd be a great show.
Yeah. And they're taking another band. There's another band named Empty going. They were on Solid State as well. So yeah, if you guys hear this, I hope you had a great time at the show, because I don't think we're getting this out. But
maybe they found this because they saw them and were like, hey, I got to get some more stuff on Meadows.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be
Come
sweet.
tell us about your experience. How were they on the East Coast?
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, how about we talk about what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, dude. I'm down.
So as we said, this is like 3 EPs, right?
Yeah.
And each EP kind of has a different feel and vibe, and this is like a concept album, and all the songs tie together, and it's all the same story.
Yeah.
Although they are not like, you don't have to listen to them in order. You can put them on shuffle, because it's not like wait, what happened last time, right? They do a good job of having the lyrics be ambiguous enough that the details don't matter. But essentially, there's 3 EPs, and the first one is the perspective, kind of, mostly of the mom.
Yeah.
And there's this family, a mom who's pregnant and has a son and a husband. And in part 1, the husband leaves. She's left alone to raise her kids. Mm-hmm. In part 2, the perspective is kind of the kids as adults now. And, dad's still gone. I got to help take care of mom. We don't have enough money, whatever. And the brother leaves, right? And eventually comes back. And then the third part is the father's perspective. So it's a prequel. Jumps back in time before he died. And you kind of learn about why he left. And how he died and stuff like that. So it's a really good like storytelling. And I think it's a very interesting concept album in how they do that. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I really paid that much attention to the whole like story of it all. When all these times I've listened to this, I'm just like, ooh, who's this song about?
Yeah.
I had no idea it was like the same dad that he's pissed off about,
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, for me too, like, you look at it and knowing what it's about and like listening to it as a story, right? It's super emotional, right? It moves you there, even though like you might not have experienced like something like this. Like, it's it's a tough story.
Yeah.
Right? And through it all, like, you see the pain and the sorrow, and that feels so, the way Christian screams and the way the music is composed, like, you feel it. You just feel it.
Yeah.
And then somehow you see God's grace, you know? And so it's phenomenal, right? It's what I look for in music. It makes me feel something, and I'm so excited to talk about this.
All right.
So what's it like to buy your first cryptocurrency on Kraken? Well, let's say I'm at a food truck I've never tried before. Am I going to go all in on the loaded taco? No, sir. I'm keeping it simple, starting small. That's trading on Kraken. Pick from over 190 assets and start with the $10 in your pocket. Easy. Go to Kraken.com and see what crypto can be. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Interactive Inc., PWI, DBA Kraken. View PWI's disclosures at kraken.com/legal/disclosures.
Hi, we're Comparion Insurance Agency. Right now you're thinking, Comparion? Never heard of them. We know. We also know that you have no idea that Comparion Insurance agents are local and provide expert advice. So to help it stick, we're going to say local agent 4 times in the next 15 seconds. Ready? Go. Our local agents know you and your community. Our local agents offer insurance from top carriers. Our local agents have minty fresh breath.
Find us at ComparionInsurance.com. Comparion Insurance Agency. Local agents. Expert advice.
And there's number 4.
So we picked 2 songs from each EP. We hope you like our picks.
Yeah.
The first song we chose is The Flood.
In those days, and also after, she had a job and smiled. She looked back. She remembered the laughter. It wasn't hard. It wasn't forced. But those girls' hands sing songs of remorse. But that man wasn't man. If you can call him that, wasn't man. He packed his bags, walked out on them. He never looked back. Now she's all alone. Her boy, his face reminds her of the pain she felt that day when everything was changed. But that man.
So The Flood.
Yeah.
Thematically, this kicks off the whole, like, event, right?
Yes.
All the songs build on this event. And it's basically the dad leaves this family, this mom who has a son, while she's pregnant.
Yep.
And while he's gone, while he left, and they're all alone, he also gets in a car accident and dies. Drowns in a river.
Yep.
And so the song is like, man, many of these songs are depressing.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be upset and feel bummed, but at the end of the whole thing, have a feeling of hope,
Yeah.
like, this is an album that you're going to like. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the songs, the first song that I heard that, like, stuck out. Like, listening to the whole thing, I'm like, I remember The Flood. Right? I just remember him yelling that, but that man, if you can call him that.
Yeah.
You know, like, out of this anger for leaving them, you know? That just really stuck out, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. And every time I go listen through it, I always remember, like, how he screams that.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, it's very depressing, but also, like you said, this is the catalyst for everything, right? And some pieces you're going to see later, like when it says, now she is all alone, her boy, his face, a reminder of the pain she felt that day when everything changed. Inside of that lyric, songs we're going to talk about later have those exact same lyrics.
Yep.
You know, and so it's just like, that's why I think, like, even though I guess it is recorded later and all that, like, it was all planned, or maybe they just went back and, like, how can we do this? But I feel like it was like, you know how you're already planning for a sequel of a movie before you finish the movie? That's what I feel like was happening here. And I just find it to be really artistic, you know, like, well written.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know. Like you in this perspective, which is also what I like too. You're seeing the perspective of this mom who is this woman that's gonna have to raise 2 kids by herself. Like that at the end of the song, that's what sinks in. Like there was a chance that he was gonna come back if he's alive. But the dude's dead. She sees the car in the newspaper.
Yeah, there is no closure.
There's no closure. And so she has to raise these kids on her own. And think of all the emotion that goes into that. And this man who left, like, you hate him.
Yeah.
I hate him.
Even in the lyrics, you feel like, I mean, so this is like him telling a story, right?
Yeah.
It's not someone's perspective. This is like, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And just the way that, it's like, and a kid on the way. And they say, but that man, if you can call him that, left her. It's like what? Why?
Yeah. Kept his foot on the gas. Took the turn too fast. Boom. River consumes him.
Yeah. Brutal. We have to talk about this song because it's, it's the foothold of the whole album.
Yeah. And like what I do love too, like there's some really awesome pieces. The ending breakdown-ish, let the dead bury themselves. When that happens, that part, that whole last like piece is a little bit different, right? It has that, but that man, if you can call him that, paired with pain and neglect, chose himself instead. Right? He didn't choose his family. He chose himself. He drowned to death in his regret. Then the breakdown hits, and it's huge, man.
Yeah, I like that breakdown because it's like it really encompasses the word. It actually slows down every time they do it.
Yeah.
But so what do you think the intention of saying let the dead bury themselves is? Like, why do you think that was the closing of the song? Right? I mean, we know Jesus says that.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't say that. He says, let the dead bury the dead. But
to me, like, I hear that and I say, he literally was a dead man, like, spiritually, to his family. He was probably not the best dude. Mm-hmm. He was already that way. And his decisions literally caused his death. Like, he took some bad person out of the world that was himself. Yeah. By his own decisions. Yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult for me because I'm trying to... I know these guys are Christians, and this seems like a very intentional line that Jesus said. And, because in the Bible, right, it's one of the... who is it? Matthew or someone? One of the disciples is like, Jesus, I can't go.
Right.
I have to bury my father. And he's like, let the dead bury the dead. And there's a lot of thoughts on like what that actually means. Like the guy's dad was probably going to die soon. And if he left, he couldn't get an inheritance. He wouldn't be able to be there for his dad to bury him, to take over the house, that kind of stuff. And it's like he was choosing himself and his future financially and, through family and stuff over Jesus. And that was his point. It's like, you got to hang that up. Like, you have to follow me. Like, it takes sacrifice.
Yeah.
And it was basically, he was going to choose himself, which is kind of what this guy did, right? He's like,
he does. It says that in the song lyrics. He chooses himself.
Yeah.
Over his family.
So I can see the line, and I think that's the intention behind it. I'm not sure, but I know that these guys are very intentional guys when they write their music, and so I'm trying to, nitpick at every little piece. Maybe I'll message Christian and be like, hey, why'd you use that line?
Yeah. I think too, like, maybe this is what they like. Like, maybe they didn't mean that at all, but to you it means that. Like, sometimes songs are like left up to
interpretation.
Yeah. And what something means to me was probably not the intention, but like it's true to me, which is wild.
So with that, are you ready to move to the next song?
Yeah, let's do it.
The Dove.
So if the flood was super depressing, right? Like, it's the catalyst, and it leads into the dove. The dove is a story of not a coward like the person that left the family, the father that left the family in the flood. The dove is a story about the mother who realizes there's no time to grieve.
Yeah.
There's no time to not do what's needed. And she realizes that, and she has to raise 2 boys by herself. And not only raise them, support them, right? And completely do it on her own. There's no child support coming because this dude's dead, right?
Yeah.
There's no any external support. She's got to do it. And like it says too, like in the lyrics, she's working 2 jobs to try and just support them. And she's making sure that these kids are being raised the right way, pulling up her boots and just getting to work. I don't know, man. Like, it's pretty cool. It's inspirational, but it's also still sad.
It's really sad. I mean, musically, it sounds very chill when you start. Like, oh, this is gonna be a chill song. But yeah, it's kind of a sad. It's weird, right? Because lyrically, it's a struggle, but musically, it's kind of a peaceful thing. But yeah, I like that. You know, she became like the dove. You know, and it says, you know, that brought the olive branch, which is a sign of peace, right?
Yeah.
I feel like she was able, this is like a song to tell you that she was able to raise her 2 kids in a peaceful home by working nonstop, right? That he talks about her tired legs, her tired eyes. Like, dark was the day. Like, she's sad all day long, depressed, overworked, dealing with all this, that followed by night. Also dark, you know? And you just get like this picture of like this mom, you know, kicking butt, raising this family by herself, and, you know, selling this, you know, sold her rings in a pawn shop to make money. She doesn't even get to keep anything of her own, but it's just like, it's this really cool picture of like what she's sacrificed, what she's done to raise these 2 kids, which makes it even harder in some of the later songs.
Jeez, yeah.
But yeah, and I like her, how it says that she was the hope for tomorrow, which is kind of like the sign of a dove, you know, like from Noah's Ark with the dove, right? Sign of hope.
And that all kind of relates to the flood, right? So the flood happens, and the dove is the sign that like she's the reason they got through it.
That their hardship is over.
Yeah, she's the reason. Her fighting, her sacrificing made this happen. And so this mom who's raising these 2 kids, she has to get it done, even though like deep down inside she is hurt, right? She's tired. They're barely getting by. I
like that outro lyric too.
Yeah.
Where it says, you know, she cries that prayer, "Our Father who art in heaven, give us the strength to live today. God, help us carry on." Like, that's like the mantra that she had to say every day to get this done.
Yeah. And I think too, like, you look at this as a parent, not even just mothers, but I'm sure there's single mothers out there that they hear this and it resonates beyond belief. Because I can't even imagine.
Single dads, you know?
Single dads too. Yeah, right. Like single parents in general. It just probably resonates with them. But even as a parent, like looking at it and saying like, it's worth it, you know? Like there's times even in our lives where we have to sacrifice some things for our kids because we know like our kids are everything, right? They mean so much to us, and they're worth it. And God entrusted us with those kids. And so when we're making those sacrifices, it might not feel good at the time, but like it's important. Whereas the father from the flood, he didn't make, or so we think, sacrifices. He just left like a coward.
Yeah.
And so it's this split, you know, like the mom is totally selfless where the dad is selfish.
Right.
And it's a good picture of the dove. It's a good picture of also Christ.
So with that, shall we move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
This is the beginning of part 2. So there's going to be like a theme change here. But this song that we chose is called The Absence.
I woke up to go downstairs and find my mother crying in the hall, just trying to understand why my brother would just abandon us in the dead of night. I wonder if he ever stopped to think. If he even thought of us at all, or the fall into the cycle of what was done to him, and to me, and making mother go through this again. Her hands tremble and shake as mine turn to fist.
So this song is, the boys have grown up. Mom is not able to take care of the house, and she's sick.
Yeah.
And this is the perspective of the little brother. So when Dad left, he was pregnant. He was the baby inside the pregnant mom.
Yeah.
Right? So he never got to meet his dad. And so his father figure is his brother. And in this song, the brother leaves, just like his dad. And it's, man, song's sad. And it gets angrier the longer it goes, and I really like just his anger and disappointment in his voice when he's screaming this,
Dude, yeah.
And it gets to certain parts that we'll cover soon, and I'm feeling angry too, man.
Yeah.
But what do you like?
It starts off just like that guitar riff, just you can just tell it's kind of like something bad happened, and then he screams, and it's so emotional. I woke up to go downstairs to find my mother crying in the hall, just to try to understand why my brother would just abandon us in the dead of night. And it was the way, just like you said, the way that he screams it is so emotional. So why would you do this to her when it's already happened with Dad?
Yeah.
And like you said, the sheer anger, to make his mother go through that again. I love the lyrics of her hands tremble and shake as mine turn to fists of rage.
Yeah, love that.
The hall is flooded with tears as if nothing mattered all these years. Going back to the previous EP talking about that event where Dad left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because although they're both of them are the sons, right? The dad is left. There probably is a deeper connection with the son that was already born. A toddler or a little kid. We don't know his age.
We don't know his age, but yeah.
Right? But he knew his dad.
Yeah.
He met him. He was there. And so there's probably some of that, that feeling that's tough for him to get over too. It wasn't just his mom that had to deal with the dad leaving. It was also the son.
Yep. Which is probably why there's, trauma. And he does mention later in the song that, there's a cycle. Does he not see the cycle that he's continuing?
Yeah.
And what he's doing to his mom again. And I like the line when he said, so this whole song is from his perspective, right? So it's
the younger brother.
Him singing. But when he says, I can't just stand aside and let two broken men take away her light.
Jeez.
And he's just angry at his dad, who he's never met, angry at his brother for acting like that when he sees his brother in the alleyway.
Yeah, that part's huge. And so, okay, this is also is an interesting piece too, because they're not that old. Right? It's not like they're in their 30s, because he's on his bike going to get his mom's meds.
Well, I mean, when did this take place, right? In the flood, the mom sees the car in the newspaper and knows that it's him that died.
Yeah, well, and they'd say dates like 70s, and it happens in
63.
60s. Yeah.
That's when the dad left.
Right.
We'll talk about that later in a later song. But So yeah, I mean it's back in the day, and if they're struggling financially, they can't afford a car.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So
in my mind, like I see this like later teen, like older
16,
high
17,
school
18?
kid. Yeah, like that's who I think the younger brother is. The older brother is graduated, probably in his early 20s or something, right? And the younger brother sees him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, oh, man, it's so emotional.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much we want to go verbatim of the lyrics, because you guys should just listen to the song.
Yeah.
But basically, he goes to the store to buy the prescription drugs that his mom needs because she's getting sick, and they're having a hard enough time, like, staying afloat,
Right.
just the two of them. And on his way home, he sees his brother in an alley, passed out with bloodshot eyes, right? Well, not passed out, but...
He's there with bloodshot eyes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously doing drugs and stuff, and I love that he says, you know, they widen his brother's eyes, and he says, my fists tighten.
Yeah.
He drops the pills, ditches his bike, runs over there, and just lets him have it. I mean, lyrically, it's amazing. Vocally, like how Christian just does this, and how the drums are paced out,
Dude.
and the guitars are just like, I don't know, I feel like you're there, you know,
It's
like
a story, man. It's
he
so good.
yells
yeah.
at him, calls him, you coward. You know, don't tell me I don't understand. You know, you may have lost your father, but I lost the only model of a man that I ever had.
Yeah. Him.
Brutal. Yeah, and I love, like, the ending, how he says, like, you were the ghost of the father I've never known. You know, like, this is the movie Onward. If there wasn't a happy ending where they get to hang out the bottom half of their dad for most of the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like, where the older brother is the dad to him.
Yes. Yeah, I think too, like this is where it kind of goes back, and like the way that these lyrics relate to the previous songs. When you call yourself a man, right? Like, and when we did the flood, that man, if you could call him that, you know, it's just they're bringing all this back. You coward, you chose yourself instead, right?
Boom, his dad chose himself.
And his dad didn't. His
Same
mom
lyrics,
didn't,
yeah.
right? Like we were just talking about the selfless versus selfless. And dude, yeah. Think about being in the older brother's shoes when you hear your younger brother, who you're supposed to be a mentor to, like said, you're the only father I've known, or whatever. Like, you know, and you look at this and you're like, man, this kid has a head on his shoulders, though. Like he's got it figured out, and like you hope the brother figures it out too.
Yep.
Man, and as maybe the mom was like sitting by the window waiting for the dad to return before she found out that he passed away, now he's waiting for his brother to return. Like,
she's probably also waiting for her son to return.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And gosh, it's heartbreaking, and you hope that there's like a happy ending, because it ends with like, that was it. The dude's cracked out in an alley, and he might die just like his dad died.
Well, let's listen to the next song and find out what happens.
Okay. The next song we're going to talk about is The Embrace.
Just like the wind when it meets with the wind, the ocean opens up. The violence has been hit. She was lost in the currents. Her hope swept away by the undertow of lies that she had once believed. She once believed.
The Embrace. This is the answer not the answer to the song, because we'll get to that. This is the answer to the previous like song we talked about, the absence. Like, is there any redemption for the older brother? Excuse me. Is there any redemption for him? In this song, the mother is dying. She's sick, and it seems like she just keeps getting sicker. Like she's on her deathbed. The only thing that's keeping her here is thinking of seeing her son again. Right? And eventually the son comes back.
The prodigal son comes home.
That's right. And I think the way that the lyrics are talks about it, like he hesitates to even come into the door. Right? He knows his mom's dying. He knows he has to go back. But he's been gone for so long. He abandoned her just like the dad did. But she welcomes him with open arms. Right? And everything comes back, all the memories. And like the lyrics at the end, like if you want to cry, guys, like if you want a good cry, listen to this song with the lyrics out and just follow along. In the end, man, like when the mother's talking, like we both cried ourselves to sleep each night after your father had passed away. Like they had a special bond too, you know?
Yeah, that part killed me.
Man, like
just knowing that, you know, so he finally comes, right? Because it says that she calls and says, you know, I'm waiting for my son. I'm waiting for my son. And he finally comes and, you know, it says he hesitates to even open up the door at all. Which means he was moments away from just not even seeing her and just leaving again. Like, sheesh. But, you know, and I like how at that moment in the song, the music totally changes. It drops out. It's like this very sad thing. And you can feel him slowly walking into the room.
Yes.
And he 100%. Says, you know, but there's a hand reaching out for me. Am I worth it? This rescuing? Am I worth all of this pain? Right? And he says that he's been lost and he feels so ashamed and all this, right? And it's like, he's been gone a long time, right? So mom's disease has gotten worse. Who knows how much older he is? Who knows how long he's been gone? Yeah. And she hasn't seen him. And instead of being angry or like, where have you been? You know, like the brother's response. Yeah, you know, punching him and being like, you think you're a man? And the mom is like there to like receive him. Right. Open arms. And I mean, I'm not going to read any of the lyrics because I'm going to choke up. Like, I haven't cried to a song in forever, Tyler. And doing notes on this episode, this song killed me. It killed me. Yeah. But I'm not going to read the words. But basically, she describes the way he looks, looking just like his dad, in a positive context. Yeah. Not like, you know, just like Tyler said, right? There's lyrics from the previous songs that she says and repeats back to him in such a happy and, you know, embracing way. And the song kind of starts out with like a flood lyricism, with all the waves and water and stuff being washed away. And basically it says like the oceans open up and the violence that she feels is beneath those waves. Like she no longer feels this like anger or whatever that's happening there. But yeah, I mean, those lyrics are written so well, and the way that the mom says these things so nicely to her son, who's like probably feeling the worst in the world, almost wasn't even going to see her. And she tells him, you can always come back. It's never too late. Says that I see the boy that we had raised, her and the dad, right? And how they both cried themselves asleep. Like that kills me. When the dad died, they cried themselves asleep. Anyway, I said I'm not going to read lyrics. I'm not going to do it. But I love how that sentiment, that, I don't know, the exchange between the mom and the son transitions to be about God. Like, I think this is the first time lyrically where it feels like the band steps aside from their storytelling to tell us if there's breath inside your lungs, then you can have hope. Yep. Right? God calls us still his sons and daughters. And it's like, it is the prodigal son story, right? Coming home, thinking, oh boy, I'm probably going to have to work as a slave, And the dad's just like, no, feast, party time, let's do this. We're so glad you're back. Right?
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine what the other son is feeling when it's like, boy, I hope mom's just ripping him a new one, you know? Right. He's been gone all this time and he comes back on her deathbed. How dare he?
Yeah.
You know? Like, who knows what he's feeling, but...
Yeah. And this EP, part 2, obviously we said it's the prodigal son. The moral of the prodigal son is obviously, like, you can come back, but it's also this idea of, like, a welcoming father. And in this case, a mother, right? But, like, God is not saying, look at all these things you did. How dare you come back? It's like, no, I've been looking for you. I've been calling you, right? Every single day, thinking about you. And yeah, it's a really good picture of God is welcoming, and no matter how far you've gone, how far you've strayed, the sins you committed, whatever it is, like, it's never too far away.
Yep.
You're always welcome. And it's beautiful. You know, and to see it in the picture of a mother and a son, like, in the context of what happened in the previous EP, like you said, you can't not kind of get worked up about it, because it's so well done.
Favorite song?
No.
Oh. I don't know what my favorite song is. I really don't. I don't know if I could pick one. I think musically and stuff, and I think storytelling wise, like, it's probably this one. It's kind of like that Capital Lights Christmas song, you know, A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
How it gets you, you know?
Yeah.
And you're just like, I hate listening to this. But when I do, I can't skip it, you know? Right. And I feel like this does that to me. And just, they do a good job, like, vocally with this, like, sing, scream, cry. Like, I feel like he's, like, cry screaming, you know?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
Especially that chorus thing they do, you know, the heart breaks. It finally takes its toll. Finding strength isn't easy. Like, that's such a catchy, like, just hearing that is like, I don't know, it's an earworm. Just that tone and that pitch that he sings, screams, cries, that, whatever he's doing.
The emotional piece of not even the lyrics, but just his voice.
Yeah, and like they do like
awesome,
the underwater
man.
Sound stuff too, or like, you know, he sounds really far away and it's just all you hear is like a guitar. Like, they do it's a very dynamic song. It's story driving, you know.
Yeah. I think of, like, bands that tell stories, right? I think of, like, Emery or whoever else, right? But, like, this even feels different because I feel like the music is also telling the story in many ways. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like the music was written to help. I don't know. Obviously, I think that's all bands, but I feel like the music was, like, really written to emphasize pieces of this, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because, like, some bands, if you don't listen to the lyrics and you listen to the music, you're like, oh, yeah, that's a fun song. That's a good song.
Right.
Like, freaking Plead the Widow's Cause, right?
Yeah.
Love that song. And then I read the lyrics, and I'm like,
Crash,
this is so... No, the sad one about, like, the mom and Christmas and stuff. Well, and I used to think that was such a catchy song, and then I read the lyrics, and I'm like, I don't want to know this song.
Yeah.
It's sad. But, yeah, I get what you're saying. But I think that wraps up The Embrace.
What if laptop performance was reborn with AI? Boost your productivity with the Snapdragon X Elite platform for Windows. Shop now at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
Should we move on to the third EP?
Yeah.
Let's see what's happening with the dad. The next song is called The Call.
The 16th of November, 1963. The Trinity night when everything changed.
Okay, so the third part 3, is from the perspective of the father. So we go back in time, right? We've learned about the mother. We learned about the sons. And now this is the perspective of what the dad was going through before he left.
Mm-hmm.
And The Call is a brutal song. It is my favorite song.
Lyrically, musically?
Both, I think. We'll talk about that too. But this is my favorite song on the album.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to it a ton. But I think there's a lot of great pieces in this song. So it talks about the father who's going through, he's depressed, man. He's depressed. He has an addiction to alcohol that's leading him and has taken hold of him. And you can kind of start to see through this song what was causing him, what caused him to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if there's any empathy for him, like, we'll try to find it. Because before, when we just found out the dad left, like,
no empathy.
Hate him. Yeah, he's a coward.
We hate him.
And so
all 9 songs. Here we go.
This part 3 not is trying to change that, but is showing the perspective, right, from why he did what he did.
Yeah, and I wonder if the mom knew. But so, yeah, as Tyler said, he's a pastor. I like the lyrics and the visual images. Basically, he's doing drunken communion. Right. This was his Friday night mass, clutching the good book, and then on the other hand, a shot glass.
Yeah.
There's another line that I really liked. I don't know if I wrote.
Preaching. My favorite of all time is preaching fireball and brimstone.
Fireball.
Like, I love that lyric. I know it's I don't know if it's cheesy, but like I love it because it's like, man, like it just fits so well. And I think, yes, it's kind of this facade that's put on, maybe, that this guy had it all figured out.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have known.
I don't know if he did. I mean, okay, so there's that line where he's like, he says to himself, just one, no one would have to know.
Yeah.
And then he says, after all, he, capital H, turned water into wine.
Yeah.
So it's like he's justifying, like,
drinking.
I mean, even Jesus made alcohol. Right. He made it for people at a party. Like, I can consume more. And he definitely, I mean, the wordplay here and even the anger and the lyrics and stuff, like, this guy had a drinking problem. Bad.
Yeah, for sure. And it shows, it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and talks about these false idols, right? Which to him is alcohol, right? He's consuming, continually consuming, and to the point to where it's taken hold of him, right? And
I like because it comes back later, the line where he says the shepherd lost his way back.
Yeah.
And then there's another part later where the shepherd will return him. But yeah, sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I think of not necessarily alcohol, right? But like sins that can consume people. Sins that, like, if you do too much, like it can literally take a hold of your life and change you. And alcoholism is one of those, right? And then like the breakdown is like this warning to all people. And I mean, this part is like my favorite part of the album when it's a breakdown. Don't get a hold of something that can get a hold of you. Don't get a hold of something that can get a hold of you.
Yep.
Like,
I love that.
Oh, man. And thinking about that, I think that's why this is my favorite, like, my favorite song, because is this what turned him? Like, is this the reason? Is this sin of alcoholism, is this what sparked this whole story of trauma and pain and anger? Like,
is alcohol?
the sin of alcoholism.
Yeah. I mean, all the suffering that his family had to endure because of his sin.
Right. And is there something before, though? Like, that's another part of it. Like, okay, in many cases, like, I guess I would look at it and say alcohol is a treatment, quotations, to something that's going on. Is he depressed?
Sure.
Is he going through is the weight of being a dad with another one on the way and a pastor, is that just too much for him, so he needs to escape? And he gets a hold of alcohol to try and escape, and all of a sudden alcohol took him.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of curious about that too, because when he says that, it says that he recalls his father's words, right? Etched in stone on his heart grown cold. That's what his father says to him, that he remembers so well. Don't get a hold of something that can get a hold of you. So maybe it's a genetic addiction issue, and he knows his dad struggled with it. Maybe it's just every line down, who knows? And maybe it was just a gradual thing, you know?
Yeah.
One glass here, one glass there, and eventually it became I need this to do this social event because I have social anxiety now, or I need this drink to go to sleep tonight. You know, like, it just becomes like a daily nonstop use, and then it's like, it got a hold of me and I can't let go.
Yeah, where there's an actual addiction, you know. And there's been like studies that have shown like alcoholics, like, with trying to stop, is physically issues happen, right? Because you're so dependent on it. And I think that's a biggie for a lot of people in the Christian community, because there's a lot of different feelings about alcohol, right? Yeah. But I also think that this goes zooming out. This goes beyond alcohol. This is about sin, right? Sin that can take a hold of you, right? If it's a porn addiction, or if it's drugs or alcohol or whatever, right? Like, there's things that you can create false idols, right?
Yeah.
And worship those to the point to where it consumes you and takes a hold of your life. And it's so crazy because maybe, like you said, maybe his dad was an alcoholic, which in turn made it more susceptible for him to be an alcoholic, which caused him to leave, which caused his wife to be so sad and angered because she's a single mother, which caused his son to be a drug addict. Like, dude, it's just this vicious cycle of pain.
Yeah.
And it makes me like, you know, this is a fictional story, I believe. I mean, it's obviously happened.
I think it's a story. Before. It happened in the 60s, so.
Happened before. I'm sure it's happened to many families, you know. It makes me thankful for my family, because I couldn't even fathom what this is like, because I've been lucky enough to have two parents that stay together.
Same.
A pretty stable household, right? Where money wasn't like a huge issue. And I've kind of been spoiled in a sense, you know, where people are out there every single day in our circles. We know them. That can be like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of like my life.
Yeah.
My parents split up when I was 4, or my dad died, or whatever it is. Like, there's people that are actually hurting out there.
Well, shout out to my dad, who his father left when he was a little child.
Yeah.
I remember how old he was, maybe 2. But grandma found another dad, you know, and raised him and all that. And so I was blessed that my dad broke that cycle.
Yeah.
In the words of For Today.
Right. Yes.
But, you know, so I don't have that experience. I cannot relate with the story.
But your dad can, right?
Yep. And I mean, I can empathize, and
yes,
I am a father and I am a son, and I can imagine my life going those ways, you know.
Yeah.
But
it's, even though, like, I can look at it and be like, yeah, you know, I'm not gonna let that take over my life. I wouldn't. There's still, like, for me, like, some empathy for, like, this dad. Like,
I got no empathy still.
I do.
In this song, I'm just like, eh. You know, and the way the song ends with him, like, he goes home, right, and he says he watched them asleep like trees that swayed in lament, swaying in sadness. Why are they sad? I don't understand. It's such weird analogies at the end. The hush of the limbs as they break and they bend. Like, was he afraid that he would hurt his family? Like, I really don't know. The sagging moss hung like thoughts in his head.
Because I think at this point, like,
he's
realized,
super wasted and it's all blurry.
No, I think he realizes, like, and he sees through all this how much he's hurting his family. Like, they know, right?
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
They
now.
know.
I got you. Yeah,
and in his mind, they're better without me. They're literally going to be way better than having some hypocritical father who's an alcoholic.
Pastor.
I'm gonna leave.
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave. I'm out. And
yeah, I see that now because it says they had tear-soaked pillows and all that as they're asleep.
And it could have been a drunken decision, which could have led to this car crash. Right? Like, I think there's also that piece. Was he drunk driving when this happened?
Well, we'll get to that.
And right. And so there's that piece of it too, to where this decision's maybe not thought through so well because something got a hold of him, dude. Like, sin has roots deep in his heart.
Yep. And I like the imagery and the lyrics that they chose because they equate him to being leaves on the ground, but they equate the kids and his wife to being willow trees, like weeping willows. And so when he leaves, it says, yet he left like the wind blowing through the trees, through the weeping willows. Like, he thinks he's nothing but just these useless leaves in this forest of trees, which is his family. He's like, I can't help you. I'm no good here. I'm only going to make things worse. And he just pieces out.
Yeah.
Cool lyrics, like cool story, imagery, not a cool story. But yeah, your favorite song, huh?
Oh, man, yeah, it gets me. But I also think, like, I just really like that breakdown.
Yeah, like
it's just
style
such
there.
a good breakdown. And this whole song is heavier, like, I think too, which I like. I do like the message of, like, sin can take you down, like, if you let it.
Yeah, we were talking the other day, or like maybe it was when you were up visiting for my birthday, and we went out or whatever. But someone was talking about something, and you kept saying, "Don't get a hold of something that can get a hold of you."
Yeah, dude, I was mentioning the song, and I was like looking at you.
Yeah,
like,
I don't remember what it was about though. I think it was a conversation. Someone brought something up, and you're just like hitting my arm, like, Gary. I'm like, what? Don't get a hold of something that can get a hold of you.
Dude,
like,
what was that about?
I don't remember.
Because it was so cheesy. I remember and I just said it, like, I said it nonchalant, like, well, don't get a hold of something that can get a hold of you.
Because we were watching the Gonzaga basketball game,
Gosh, yeah, what was it?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's funny. I'm glad you remember that.
That's all I remember. Every time you visit, I just look back every night. I'm like, what did we talk about?
Oh.
So one other thing I wanted to bring up is kind of funny. So I know these guys are fans of Me Without You.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
And they have that song, January 1979.
Dude, yes.
So in the first line talks about November, the 16th of November, 1963. I'm just like, immediately,
Yes,
January 1979, there was a horrible crash.
Dude.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Yes, 100%. I was thinking the exact same thing. I didn't realize, I mean, I could maybe take that they were inspired by Me Without You, or maybe, like, fans.
Well, who's
but
not?
I didn't know. But then I thought of that, I was like, oh my gosh, like, homage, dude. They're paying homage to a great band.
Yep.
That's funny. Yes, 100%.
So with that, I think we can move on to the last song we picked, The Answer. So in this song, kind of the closer, there is a song after this, but that kind of focuses on the very last few moments of this song.
Yeah.
Basically in this song, dude's praying to God, repenting. He wants help to go back to his family. He wants to straighten up his life. He's ready to ask for forgiveness and to be a father again.
Yeah.
But the rain keeps falling. And as we know from the other songs, he dies in a car crash on his way back. But what is really cool about this song, there's also some cool imagery, right? So the first half is kind of him fighting with himself. Like telling himself to man up kind of thing. And the second half is like him praying to God, like, I can't do it on my own. And there's a line that I thought was really interesting. So he says that, he's got pieces of his shattered heart that he picks up and he tapes it to his fists. So he's got broken hearts on his fists. Picturing this in your head. He's remembering his love for his wife, their first kiss. He misses her. And so he throws punches at his loneliness and it spills blood, right? And it's like, so he's punching with his heart taped to his fists at his loneliness. Like
interesting
lyricism
picture.
And I like the artistic style of choosing those words and the other thing I like, and then I'll let you go, Tyler. The chorus, right? It's simple. Just always remember, it's the rain that makes the flowers grow. It's raining the whole time in this song, and at the very end is when the car crashes, and it says, the rain kept falling. So this whole time where you're like building up hope, like, yes, he's gonna make it. He's turning his life around. He's gonna go back and help his family because they need him.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh wait, he's not gonna make it.
Yeah. It sucks. Like, it does suck because who never knew that he changed his mind about everything and came back and was gonna go be a dad again? Everyone.
Yeah.
Except for God. And like, in the grand scheme of things, as absolutely tough as this is, God's the only one that needed to know that repentance. You can tell just from the lyrics, the way that he's praying to God, like he understands that he was wrong and wants to be better. And there's true repentance here, right? And he just rededicates his life to God, and he says he kneels before the throne. Like, you can just feel it, right? And how he's going to go back. But like, some decisions have consequences, right? Just because like you want it to be a happy ending, it's not always going to be. Mm-hmm. Right? And so his decision to go out that night, and who knows, from the previous song, was he drunk, or was it just because it was raining? Who knows even
how long it's been?
Or how long it's been. Maybe he was maybe he was just driving forever, and then finally he was almost home, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Crashes and dies. And before he crashes, as the car begins to spin, it sinks in the river, in quotations, the man saying, "Oh God, I'll never see them again."
Song's done.
Boom.
Yeah, done. Man. Yeah, I really like, I like to imagine like that second verse where he's like talking to God. It's the drive there,
Yeah.
And I really like his, when he says, "God, you take and break my legs. You place me on your shoulders instead. Because God, I'm lost and I've left home. Help me go back. I'm not alone. Lord, I repent." It's just like this, like begging of God to like help him fix this.
And I think there's some really like, from this we can glean like that there was a good dude in there, right? He wanted to be a dad. He wanted to be a husband, and maybe at some point he was a good dad and a good husband before alcoholism or before his depression or whatever it was. Like, and I think at the end of the embrace, when we see like the mom like comparing the son to the dad in a positive way.
Yeah, now we see what she's talking about.
We see what she's talking about. It seems like this piece wraps up everything, because even for the dad who is sinful, leaves his family, absolute coward, there's still redemption for him. Like, there's still a spot for him, and God still welcomed him back. even for like the lowest of lows, like doesn't matter. Which is encouraging for people, I think, that are there. There's a lot of people that feel like they need to clean up before they come to God. They don't.
Yeah, I feel like the stuff the mom was talking about with the son and then what the band kind of stepped aside and said applies here too. Like,
yes.
It's not just to the prodigal son. In a way, it's the prodigal father.
Yeah,
it's just he doesn't get to come home. And, I mean, we're not going to talk about the song, but the next song, you know, which features Kevin Kline from Valley Heart.
Yeah.
It's basically the dad talking to God, like on his deathbed, right? Floating down the river, begging to, you know, forgive me of my sins. I can't wait to see you. Like, he knows who God is. He knows where he's going. And it's just like this, like, I don't know, lament, this prayer. Like, it's pretty emotional.
Yeah.
And really well done musically, too. But really good album, huh?
It's one that makes you think. It's one that stirs up some emotions in you, which I think we need to. And we need to remember constantly that we can easily be the brother or the father.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that wraps up this episode and this album. I hope that we convince some of you to, like, check this album out if you haven't. Maybe give it another listen and see, you know, see what you missed. I actually, so Tyler picked these 6 songs, but after I wrote my notes and did them, I'm like, well, wait, what's this song about?
Exactly.
It's in between these two things. What happens? Like, reading about The Depths, which is like one of their most played songs, right? It was a big single when they first signed to Facedown, and reading about the dad, you know, struggling through that. And that's in between The Call and The Answer, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here, and I hope you guys go and check it out. And, like, maybe you're like me. My first time through, I had no idea it was a concept. Heck, the first 10 times through, I had no idea this was a concept album. It was a story front to back, right? I'm like, these are some random stories. Who is this dad? Like, who's this pastor? Oh, it's another, like, hypocritical pastor song. But it's like, no, this is the dad from song 1, you know?
Yes.
Anyway, very cool. Kudos to you guys in Meadows if you're listening to us.
Absolutely.
And I know I talked to Christian at that live show, and he's like, if you guys ever want me on, but I know they're hitting the road. I don't know what we talked to him about, you know? Just like, hey, man, we liked your album. It was really good.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just kind of inspiration about it. I don't know. What is there to talk about?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's something that'll happen. We'll see. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. If you like what we're doing, become a patron, buy us a cup of coffee, join the conversation daily with like-minded people, you know, and hit us up on Instagram and Facebook. Our Instagram is booming right now.
Sure is.
Dude, we're going to hit like 5K by the time this episode airs.
Does that mean we get verified?
Well, now you can get verified just by paying money.
Well, I mean,
you don't have to, like, have a certain number of followers.
Our patrons want us to be verified. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want us to, it's $12 a month, so...
Is it really?
Yeah, just for that blue check box.
What?
You get other stuff, too, like extra stickers and things for your stories, and I'm like, oh, I need that. Gotta have my stickers.
Dang.
Anyway, thanks, everyone. Have a good day, or night, or morning, or evening.
See you later.
Thank you for listening.